How's it going, everyone? This is Cloud Chief, and in today's video I wanted to go over talking about Dual Wield. Now, I had a video that recently came out that was talking about haste, and it's very important that you're aware of everything that goes around haste, because that is going to directly tie into how to best utilize Dual Wield, because you could actually be handicapping yourself, so to speak, if you are using the wrong amount of Dual Wield, and we'll get into that as we're talking about it. So before I really dive into Dual Wield and how best to gear yourself up for Dual Wield so you're doing the maximum amount of damage, I want to quickly touch on haste. And if you don't really know much about it, I do recommend going and checking out the video. There should be a link down in the description that will take you to that video that goes about haste. But for the subject of Dual Wield and how haste is tied into it, we're only going to talk about attack speed. I'm not going to be going over anything else that haste gives you, like your recast on spells. So we're just going to be talking about attack speed and how haste ties into Dual Wield for this video. So real quick, I want to touch on what Dual Wield is. I'm sure most of you are aware, but what Dual Wield is, it allows you to equip two one-handed weapons so that way you can attack with each hand. This way you're able to use two swords or two daggers, and you can even mix and match weapons. Like you could be using an axe in your main hand and then a sword in your offhand. So as long as it's a one-handed weapon and you have the trait Dual Wield, you are able to equip a single-handed weapon in each hand. Having additional Dual Wield traits and or having Dual Wield gear will actually lower the delay between attacks while dual wielding. And this is the great thing about dual wielding, because it is possible to hit the delay cap with enough dual wield with no haste whatsoever. So you can be swinging like a monk using 100 fists without using any JAs and without getting any haste whatsoever if you're geared correctly with dual wield. When you're using Dual Wield, it actually redoes the calculation for the delay for your weapons, as it adds the two delays together between your two one-handed weapons, and then it does some math where it's going to basically come out with what your total delay is, depending on what your delay is between the two weapons added together and how much Dual Wield you'll have. It'll then do the calculation to determine how much TP gain you are going to be getting per hit. And this is why it's very important to be aware of your Dual Wield and making sure you are at the proper amount of Dual Wield. Because if you have too much Dual Wield, you are actually inhibiting your TP gain, which is then going to have you weapon skilling less, which is going to drop your overall damage. And I don't think that's anything anyone wants to do. I think everyone wants to increase their damage, not decrease it. So that is the tricky thing with Dual Wield, is making sure you are at the exact point that you need to be so you can hit the delay cap, but don't have any more Dual Wield gear than what you need. So that is one of the key things to be aware of, is to know how much haste you need and how much Dual Wield you need, and if you receive more haste, that you are able to back off on the amount of Dual Wield that you are using, so that way you are maximizing your TP gain. I know that can be a lot to take in, but it gets broken down really simply by this chart that the people who love to crunch Final Fantasy XI numbers came up with this chart, so this is not my chart. And this chart is very simple. It tells you, depending on what Dual Wield trait you are at, depending on your job. T1 meaning you just have the trait enough so you can equip the weapons, but nothing to improve it. 2 slightly better, and going all the way up, where 6 is the highest that can only be obtained through Blue Mage, through spells being equipped, getting job traits. Ninja at level 99 will have Dual Wield trait 5 just innately, whereas Dancer has 4, and so on as it, of course, drops off. So once you know how much dual wield trait the job you are on has, you can then go ahead and look at how much dual wield you would need on gear to go ahead and hit the delay cap depending on how much haste you have. So say we are on ninja. If we are not receiving any type of haste from anyone that is coming from like Magic Haste through the spells, or say Bard, or even like Mighty Guard, T5, since the job trait dual wield is at level 5, so with no haste we would need 39 dual wield from gear to hit the delay cap. And then if we're receiving 10% haste, we would need 35 dual wield, 15% haste 32, 30% haste 21, and then we would need 1 dual wield if we are getting the magic haste cap. And I mean, that's pretty much all there really is to say about dual wield. The core of it really does come down to this chart right here, and this is where you want to set yourself up for how much dual wield you have per how much haste you're getting. Like for my ninja on my main, I have it set so depending on how much haste I'm receiving, I will then move through my macro sets, which will change which equipment I have, making sure that I am in the equipment that is going to be best depending on how much haste I'm getting to maximize my TP gain. The other nice thing about it is, if you're not receiving any haste, you're obviously then focusing on dual wield over really anything else to make sure you're going to hit the delay cap. But as I start receiving haste from support jobs, I'm then going to start dropping dual wield. But in turn, I should be dropping dual wield for double attack or triple attack or store TP. Basically, I want to give myself either multi-hit or store TP. That way I am gaining TP that much faster, so that way I can get to the point where I can weapon skill, and then I'm weapon skilling that much faster, and then just doing that much more damage. So in summary, you really just need to follow this chart, figure out what dual wield trait you're at, and then figure out how much dual wield you need to equip, and then just make sure you have different sets if you're trying to maximize this out, so that the more haste you have, the less dual wield you have. And that is going to maximize your damage potential. And by doing this, if you are able to achieve the delay cap with 0 haste, you can just basically be doing maximum white damage, always hitting the mobs. And if you make sure you scale back your dual wield, you're just going to be ridiculous, because you're always going to be hitting the mob, you're going to be maximizing your TP gain, and then you're going to just be, you know, maximizing how much you're weapon skilling, which is, of course, going to push up your damage. Once you learn to read the chart and you take the time to set up all your gear sets, it actually works really well. And, like, I personally love my ninja. I love the fact that I can be a delay cap and just be smashing a mob face in with my katanas with literally no haste from anyone whatsoever. It is very nice. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you for supporting the channel. And may you have success in all you do.